We're spending more than ever.
I hate my job.
The price of everything has gone up.
AI is threatening my job.
It's crisis after crisis.
Nothing is working out.
I can't find a job.
We're one disaster away.
Take control of change.
I need a change.
Disruption is the force of change. Stop the chaos. Stop the madness. Take control. Read James Patterson's Disrupt Everything and Win.
ChatGPT Atlas for Apple macOS users. Meet the new AI browser. This is a new conversation, and I am so excited that we're going to talk about this today. And it won't be long because not much has been said. So I don't want to say more than what has already been said, but I want to make sure what you're listening to would be understood. And if you haven't heard about this new platform or new AI browser, this is the time to check it out. So this is something that if you haven't tried, if you have a MacBook, if you have a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, a Mac, just in general, this would be the time for you to check it out. Now, I'll tell you my experience real quick. And for those who haven't tried this out, I'm going to put the link in the chat for you, because if you haven't checked it out, please do. And this is not the first AI browser, by the way. This is the second AI browser, because the first AI browser I talked about was Perplexity. Perplexity dropped their AI browser that's called Comet. And that was some time ago. It wasn't too long. It's not even up to a month. And here we see ChatGPT introducing Atlas to us. And you know what's crazy? I talked about this when I talked about Perplexity. And I just said it. Wouldn't it be strange, or wouldn't it even be amazing to even realize or see that if Perplexity could drop an AI browser, what are the odds that ChatGPT would do the same thing? And it did. They literally did. They dropped this, and I'm sure you've been hearing about it. If you haven't heard about it, now you have. So it's going to be Atlas versus Comet. So I'm going to predict again. I'm going to predict this again. Because ChatGPT has released their new AI-powered web browser called Atlas, and they've only positioned it for Mac OS users for now, which tells me that ChatGPT has partnered with Apple, and Apple has Safari. And when you install ChatGPT Atlas, they ask you, do you want to upload or import your bookmarks and your passwords from Safari and also from Google Chrome? That's the same thing Perplexity AI Comet did. So it's so interesting because it's a whole browser, but I did the whole experience and I wanted to share with you my experience because I'm sure you're going to try yours too. When I signed up with ChatGPT Atlas, I downloaded the macOS. I have it with me, and you can do it too. I put the link in the chat or in the description for those who are listening. You can get it today. Go to openai.com/index/introducing-ChatGPT-Atlas. The link is available for you to check it out. Now, there's something that's very important I want to note here before it even gets to the weekend, because they dropped this literally on us before the middle of the week, which was very strategic. For them to do this, it's something that I'm also looking at from a technical standpoint, because when you sign up with ChatGPT Atlas, right, the first thing that you get to see, and I even took a screenshot of it, is when you sign up for the account or when you sign up with your browser, guess where it's telling you to sign up with? Google. So in my mind, I'm just like, okay, this is like a paradox, or it's more like a Rubik's Cube, or like, you know, the movie Inception. That's what it's feeling like, because you'd have to log in with your Google Mail account and sign up and connect it to the browser. On top of that, when you sign up with the ChatGPT Atlas AI-powered web browser, it's first going to ask you to sign in with ChatGPT. In other words, if you already have a ChatGPT account, all you have to do is sign in, not sign up, but sign in with your ChatGPT account. When you sign in with your ChatGPT account, you're signing in from your Google Mail account. Let's not forget that. Before ChatGPT even had a browser, you were going to chatgpt.com, and you probably still are. So if you're going to chatgpt.com and you're signing in or signing up or logging in with a Google Mail account, what does that tell you about where ChatGPT is getting its information from? Google. I mean, it's so in plain sight, but I want to give you the technical breakdown, because some people say, oh, I don't need to use Google Chrome, I can use ChatGPT. Well, 72% of people use internet use Google Chrome. Now, ChatGPT Atlas has done this specifically to take a market share or a market percentage of Google. So it's very important to look at these things and ask yourself, what are we doing now? Where are we going in 2025, 2026? And they're doing these things now strategically. Just like I remember when ChatGPT 3.5 came out. ChatGPT 3.5 came out like in 2023. Yeah, around 2023. And everyone was going crazy about it. And I mean, we're still using it till today, but it was a link then, right? Now, imagine at that time, around this time, that year, that's when they were talking about it, last quarter of the year. So if you really look at the trajectory of how tech companies work, most of them plan out these phases within the last quarter of the year. They use the third quarter of the year to test, to beta test, to plan, to execute, to do all the functionalities, and then bring it to you in public in the fourth quarter. So don't be surprised if Google Gemini also creates their own AI browser. That could happen. I'm not saying it's happening or it has happened, but it's at the brink, because what's going to happen is that Google Gemini is going to be integrated to Google Chrome, or somehow is going to be integrated into the system. And because before even this happening, I'm just thinking about all the technical war that's going on. Before this even happened, Google removed the parameters, right? Google, you see, it's already embedded. My wife has it. You see what Eric said? You see what I'm talking about? Thank you, Eric, for bringing this up, because I'm literally giving you guys inside information without even knowing what's happening in the future, but I can predict it because I've seen it happen before. It's the internet. So Google removed the parameters, right? And when Google removed the parameters for search, it blocked out all the AI servers, right? All the natural language processing, all the LLMs, large language models. Yes, they're still depending on these sources, but because Google cut off a section of their database from the public domain, that says a lot about where they're also going to internalize and create their own system. So it's bound to happen. I just don't know when, but it will. I remember when Perplexity dropped not too long ago, they were in private beta for 3 months. It was called Perplexity Max, I believe. And that was a subscription. I think it was about $200 a month or so. Do your research. I'm just giving you information. And when people were in that beta, people were having that, of course, trial and error, and eventually it came out to the public. Now ChatGPT Atlas is out. Now Eric is saying it's already in beta with Google. So it's probably going to happen. Eric says, I can't get it on my computer. They just asked her if she wanted to try it. You see, that's like, think about everything that is happening in the world. It starts off with an idea. Then from an idea, it forms in your mind, and then you start thinking about it. Just think about a car that you want to buy. And then everywhere you drive to, you see the same car. Not that the car was not there before, but because psychologically, you've programmed or preconditioned your mind to see things that you've already thought through. The mind is a very powerful tool, right? The mind can do a lot of things, and we don't use our mind to its full capacity. But if we do, at least most of it, it can get us to a really far point. So all I'm just trying to tell you is, I'm just announcing to you, I'm not the owner of the platform. I'm not the owner of the system. I'm just kind of like a telephone. I'm just telling you what I've seen, but I'm also experiencing it and showing you what I'm seeing myself, that eventually when you see it for yourself, you'll be like, okay, this sounds familiar, or this looks familiar. So it's getting more and more intense. It's going to get to a point where things are going to start changing, especially now with this ChatGPT Atlas. You can literally run in the background. I forgot to tell you this. When I was installing the ChatGPT Atlas, right? Perplexity didn't do this, but ChatGPT did. That's what I noticed because I have both browsers. I have the Perplexity Comet browser and I now have the ChatGPT Atlas browser. Because ChatGPT Atlas is only specifically for Apple Mac OS users as of now, right? But Perplexity is available to everyone because Perplexity is technically Microsoft Windows. Like, just if you just think about the technical setup, it's the same difference, right? So if ChatGPT partnered with Apple to go against Google, and yet Google Chrome is what you're still using to import into your ChatGPT Atlas or Safari, depending on where you save your bookmarks and your passwords, that's where you're going to pull it out from. Now, a very specific point to note is that when I was connecting the ChatGPT Atlas, I would have to go to my system on my Mac. I would have to go into my system preferences and I would have to literally turn on the background. So I literally had to add the app. You know how you can just go to background and then turn it off, turn it on? What I had to do is I had to add the app. So I had to go to my applications, add ChatGPT Atlas, and then had to now, of course, quit and reopen. And then when you quit and reopen it, you're like, oh, okay, there it is. And then I started using it. The first thing, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I always give you guys the truth and nothing but the truth. The first thing that I typed in ChatGPT Atlas, the first thing I typed, this is the most random thing. I just wanted to see what happened. I typed in ice cream near HEB, best ice cream to get. And I said, let me see what I'm going to receive. I'm not going to search anything technical or search marketing. I'll do that later. But I just wanted to see what I'll get. I just typed in ice cream. And when I typed ice cream and I was trying to look about like the best ice creams to get in HEB, which is in Texas, I said, okay, let me see what the results come out as. Guess what? ChatGPT, first of all, loads faster than Perplexity in terms of the browser load. Because when I signed up with Perplexity AI, the Comet browser, of course, you have the installer, right? Which you have to install into your platform with the extension, the .dmg extension. And then once you install it, you know what to do with your application. But I realized that opening the Comet browser was slower than opening the ChatGPT browser. That's one. Two, I noticed with ChatGPT, they have a little navigation menu at the top. I'm looking at it right now as we speak. They have a home tab, they have a search tab, they have an images tab, they have a videos tab, and they have a news tab. Guess where they got that information from or that idea from? Google. There's Google News, there's Google Images, there's Google Videos, there's Google Search. Now there's ChatGPT Search, ChatGPT Images, ChatGPT Videos, and ChatGPT News. So when I typed in this ice cream, right, I said, I want to learn about this ice cream and see what I can do with it. What I realized is that when I hit the video section, it gave me results from YouTube. So what is this saying? YouTube is owned by Google. Google Chrome is where most people use ChatGPT.com. Now, ChatGPT Atlas is out and it's only available on Apple. Do you see where we're going with this tech, all this tech things going on? It's a lot of information to take in. But if you really think about the longevity of your brand, because at the end of the day, these browsers are going to keep coming. These platforms are going to keep coming. They're going to not stop. They're going to keep rolling, updating. Eventually, you have to just, it's either you, how do you say this? It's either you, if you can't beat them, join them, But at the same time, look at this from your business standpoint. Look at this from your search standpoint. Where are people going to be using to search? Some people even say that they deleted their Google Chrome browser because they want to use ChatGPT. Some people don't even touch their Google Chrome browser, even though it's there. It's an idle because, they use ChatGPT. But they're kind of using it without even realizing they're using it, if that makes sense. So at the end of the day, ChatGPT is still sourcing from other resources like YouTube, like Reddit, like LinkedIn, like Google. right? Even when you look at ChatGPT right now, there's a section at the top that says Google. So if I'm looking at the videos, there's literally a little icon on the right side, top right side, that has a Google and an arrow, a diagonal arrow pointing right? I would say northeast. And it's pointing that way to tell you, hey, click me. And then when you click it, it takes you to Google. Now, when you look at Google's results within the videos tab, and then you look at ChatGPT's results within the videos tab, you get two different results as well. So it's two sets of results, two sets of platforms, but they're kind of doing the same thing. It's kind of like a yin yang. So if you really look at your business 2025 come 2026, don't think about how to rank on ChatGPT. Think about how to show up for the people who are looking for you in places that they frequently connect with, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, Pinterest, it will be available. But how you're going to show up in these results is really up to you. Like right now with YouTube on ChatGPT, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I get 5 videos. 5 videos, and none of them, actually one of them is above 5 minutes. The rest of them are below 5 minutes. So 4 out of 5 are below 5 minutes and 1 out of 5 is above 5 minutes. So when you look at these keywords, these tools, where does it come from? And now I'll even give you some more insights. ChatGPT sourced information from 2023, from 2016, from 2023 again, from 2018. Welcome, Joy, Renee, Burke, I see you, Nguyen, Crane, Hamanta, Eric, thanks for being here and sharing amazing insights with us today. And Tolu, thanks for being here too. And the last one is 2017. So I'm getting results from the earliest one. Yeah, the earliest one or the most recent one is 2023. I don't see any 2024 videos or any 2025 videos. That doesn't mean that what you search for will not get you that result. It just means that what you're searching for is going to give you something very succinct. So use these platforms as a consumer to have the perspective of a viewer who is seeing things based on how people are responding off brand mentions. Because AI SEO technically is mentions. If you're mentioned, let's say you have a podcast and you're being mentioned through Spotify, but it's your show. It's still a Spotify backlink back to you. But in other words, they didn't cite your website, maybe because of domain authority or maybe because of search indexing, but they referenced you from a third-party source. So the best practice is just to make sure that everything you're doing is aligned and is also connected and interconnected on the internet, right? Because when you have a YouTube video on a website, it's embedded. That email is sent with a link to the same website. You've put in the YouTube link a link to your blog. So everything is interconnected. If I come in from YouTube, if I come in from email, if I come in from Google, I'll be able to see it that way. So if you have time, which I believe you do, if you take this seriously, this is a game changer for you because you can use this platform and of course, sign in with your ChatGPT account and keep using it if you like. And then, check it out and see where it takes you. ChatGPT has the free version for everyone. And then they have something called ChatGPT Go. So when you look at ChatGPT Go, it's different, right? That's what it's going to be about. It's new. It's $5 a month, right? And it's pretty much giving you more information there. I put the link in the chat for those who want to, check it out and see. So you have the $5 a month for the Go plan. You have the Plus, which everyone knows about, the $20 plan. And then you have the Pro plan, which is $200. So they have from $0 to $200. That's their product offering. That's their product scale. That's their product, I'll call it their product line. So whichever line you fall into, or whether it's a free option or the Pro option or the Go option or the Plus option, one of those options is going to take you to where you need to go. But when you're looking at this from a long-term perspective as a business, don't just look at these shiny objects and say, oh, new object, download, new object, download. You can download them, but are you going to use them? Think about the number of apps you have on your phone. How many apps do you use in a day? No, let's scratch that. How many apps do you use in a week out of all the apps you have on your phone? Some are idle, some are connected. Go to your screen time and you'll see it. You'll see how many apps you used, how long you've used each app. So it's the same thing when you come to these platforms. Yes, they're new. Yes, they're fresh. But at the same time, be wise. If you search for yourself there as a business, or tell me about X company, or tell me about my company, or tell me about this company or that company, or tell me about this brand or that brand. Whatever you see as a result is coming from a source. And if your information is not part of that database, it's going to be hard for the algorithm to even pick it up. So the best practice for you to show up in these platforms for AI results is to focus on your intellectual property, which is your website. Because at the end of the day, if you look at all these results coming from ChatGPT, Atlas, from Perplexity, Comet, from Google Gemini, from Cloud, imagine Cloud with a browser, imagine Grok with a browser, off Twitter or X. Just imagine these things happen. It's going to be a whole mayhem. You know how before it was Google Chrome, DuckDuckGo, Safari, Brave, Opera Mini, Mozilla, and everyone just chooses what they like just because you can access the internet or even use Internet Explorer, or now they call it Microsoft Edge. It's different. So the way you're going to search in 2025, 2026 is going to be different. But it really depends on how you want to search and how you want to find the information. But use it at your own discretion. You can use a free plan, check it out, try it out. It has limited memory and limited context and limited deep research. That's the free version. Even the $5 version has a limited deep research. It gets more expanded on the $20 and the $200 plan. So it's really up to you to use it, but you don't have to. I myself personally, I think I've said this before, I don't use ChatGPT. I kind of do, but I don't really. If I look at what I use mostly, it's DeepSeek. I use DeepSeek more than I use ChatGPT or any other browser or any other AI tool, right? Because I always go where people don't, if that makes sense. I like to be in a deep blue ocean. I like to be in a place where it's very succinct and it's very meticulous to the point, and I'm able to help people access whatever they need. And I'm not just, talking just because. So when I look at these platforms long term, I see this as opportunities to grow. A lot of people use ChatGPT, you included. You might be using it. I may be wrong. You may be using something else, but you've heard of it before. So not everyone's going to download the browser, but guess what? If everyone's using ChatGPT right now and everyone downloads the browser, not everyone's going to even download it because not everyone has a Mac. Some people are going to probably buy an Apple MacBook or Apple Mac Air to just have access to this ChatGPT, just like people just buy an iPhone 17 just because they want to have access to a feature, or a Samsung or any other phone that you have. So the world is yours. It's for you to choose. And I love that they called it Atlas, because Atlas reminds me of, a globe. And when I think about Atlas, it's like, okay, we're searching the web. It's a semantic web. So they're very specific. ChatGPT doesn't only have, let me say it this way. I'll rephrase it. OpenAI doesn't only have ChatGPT, right? We know about Sora. Everyone's using Sora now, or Sora 2, right? There's ChatGPT itself. There are other platforms that you can also think of that will be working to that advantage. So it's really up to you to say, okay, how am I going to use my time, my money, my energy? What am I going to spend this on? And if I'm going to do this, how well am I going to do it? And how long am I going to do it? These platforms are here for you. They're not going anywhere. They're just going to get more and more and more sophisticated, more and more interesting. But if you really think about it, this is where it's taking you to. Now, I'll just give you a breakdown of what ChatGPT Atlas is doing and what you can do with it. I'll just run it through. One of the things that you can see ChatGPT doing, specifically Atlas, is that ChatGPT Atlas allows you to view your page and it responds right from the sidebar. That's one. You can also suggest ideas as well when you're on the web. If you're sending out emails, you can also, put in a memory, to explore what you suggested before, or, have ideas of what to do. You can open new tabs. Before it would be new chat. That's how people would be doing, a new chat on ChatGPT. Now there's a new tab. So you can use a new tab. You can bookmark your tab. You can revisit your tab. Pretty cool. You can also clear pages. You can wipe your history. You can go incognito. In Atlas, there's something called agent mode that literally does everything for you. I talked about ice cream earlier, right? So let's say you like pistachio ice cream, or you like red velvet ice cream, or you like vanilla, or you like, cookies and cream, whatever it is that you like, whatever brand it is that you like. Now with agent mode, with ChatGPT Atlas, you can complete your task. So think about shopping online and having all this information, and you just say, hey, I'm looking for, just give me all the stuff that I need. Here's my grocery list. You can even upload your grocery list as an image and say, hey, here's my grocery list. Go to Costco, or go to Sam's Club, or go to Walmart, Target, wherever you shop at, Amazon Fresh. Then say, hey, I want to get all these products because I want to do this and this and this. And then it does it for you. So just think about the efficiency and the convenience that you're getting with these platforms, right? So this is really where we're going to in the future. And that's what's happening out there. So it's really up to you. And it's going to be something that's going to be big. Of course, they've released it for macOS, but of course, Windows is going to happen too. Windows is going to be there. iOS is going to be there. Android is going to be there. So it's not like it's only for Mac users. It's just that, when you're testing things and you think about, I go technical. So I'm thinking about their servers. I'm thinking about their response system, not crashing. I'm thinking about so many things, not just the platform or the download per se. So when you look at this long term, it's really a big question for you to ask yourself, hey, am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? If I'm going to do this, when will I do this? So this is a big opportunity for you as a consumer. As a business owner, it's also a great place for you to do research and also see exactly what's showing up, who is in the market, who is in your area. If you sell cars, if you sell real estate, if you sell food, if you sell flowers, whatever it is that you sell, you can find these useful platforms and you're able to really understand where it's coming from. And think about this, and I'll also say this too. ChatGPT is not the only LLM. It's not the only large language model. There are 8 of them out there. There are 8, right? And each of them have their own. Now, 2 out of the 8 have browsers. So the other 6 may have, there's Meta AI, there's Grok. Those are already integrated into Facebook. Those are already integrated into X. Imagine now if they pull that out of that system and make it a standalone. So it's possible. So nothing is impossible in this world, right? And if you have faith, if you have persistence, if you have diligence, if you have discipline, if you have respect, if you have patience, you can definitely do a lot with what you have. It's just a matter of deciding how you're going to do it. So this is what I wanted to tell you today. I know it's not a lot of information, but it's enough to at least get you started and get you going. And of course, as more information about ChatGPT Atlas and other platforms, come out, I'll be able to tell about this here. I said I'm not going to go to sleep until I tell you guys about this, because I feel like whenever I talk about this, people are listening and people are responsive, and I want to make sure that you're not missing anything. I don't know everything. I'm not an all-knowing person. I'm just a human being. I'm just like you. We're just doing this thing called life. But at the same time, we're doing it in a way that should be beneficial, should be helpful, should be friendly, and should also be effective. Because without this effectiveness, then it's going to be hard for us to even have efficiency in the first place. So try this out for yourself. Check out ChatGPT Atlas before it goes wild. And if you have an Apple device, if you have a macOS specifically, then this is the information for you today. And then, of course, if you don't have one, just wait on it. I'm sure in a couple of weeks or days, you never know, it's just going to roll out. And I'm sure before Christmas, Thanksgiving, you just start noticing a lot of more activity going on. But this is the start of something new. And I want to talk about this new AI web browser with you. Does anyone have any question for me? If you have, please raise your hand or put it in the chat. Give it about 5 minutes so we can talk about this. If you don't have any question, then I think my job is done. Okay, we have a question. Eric says, do you like it better than Perplexity to actually do tasks? That's a very specific question. That's a hard one to answer. How do I say this? It's very subjective. Why am I saying it's subjective? Because if you think about the time I've not done this myself, but I actually would be planning to do this, is just like I talked about which one does better in terms of opening. Just, you know how opening an app is already a thing. Like if it takes 30 seconds to open this app, I might as well not use it at all. But if it takes me less than half a second to open the app, then I know that I'm in for something great. So in this scenario, when it comes to Perplexity and ChatGPT and doing tasks specifically, because that was your question, Eric, ChatGPT would be a much better place to run the tasks. Why? Because ChatGPT has a much larger database when it comes to, you know, receiving information and task and building. But of course, they've not been doing it just like Perplexity has. These guys just literally came out the blue. Boom, here you go, browser. Here we go. Everybody has a browser. You get a browser, you get a browser, you get a browser. That's what ChatGPT just did with Atlas. But Comet, like you said, Eric, Comet has been there for 3 months prior to its public release. It was available in July, but not to the public. So all the tests, all the evaluations, all the error, debugging, everything has not gone right, has been fixed, has been helped, has been debunked, has been debugged. So it's kind of like minimizing your errors in the future, which is a very tactical and very strategic way of doing business, which is great because you don't want to release something to the world and now you're having a backlog of error messages and all of them could sound like this. You don't want to hear that. That's the last thing you want to hear, because that's going to make you cringe and that's going to save. It's not even going to save. It's just going to stress you out. So the answer of your question, Eric, it's subjective, like I said. But if I was to compare it between the two, I would go with Comet first because, one, I downloaded Comet first and I've seen how it's been, and I've been with it for a couple of weeks now. So it does a much better response system compared to ChatGPT as of now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future between Comet and Atlas and whatever else shows up in the internet. But this is a great way to at least start planning and also utilizing these tools and testing them out. And what I would even say, this would be an action task for you or anyone listening to this. Give the same task to these two platforms. I'll say it again. Give these two platforms the same task. So if you say, hey, here's my grocery list, I want to buy these 10 items, you know, let's go to Costco and get all the items and then get to checkout, right? Or Walmart or wherever you want to do it. Give the same task to Comet, Perplexity Comet, and then give the same task to ChatGPT Atlas. And then if you have two Macs or if you have what do you call it? Not even a MacBook. If you just have an iMac, if you have a desktop, let me just be more specific. If you have a desktop and you have a laptop, you can run either or on each of them, simultaneously look at, and then maybe even time it, put a countdown timer and see what happens and who gets to the finish line faster. That way you're able to evaluate and see what happens. I did this one time between ChatGPT and DeepSeek. I said the same thing. ChatGPT gave me like a quick response and DeepSeek gave me a comprehensive response. And I need the comprehension so I'm able to understand what I'm looking for and not just a listicle that just gives me bullet points. So it really depends on which one that you use as well. And Eric says, I'll tell you, Comet is better than Gemini browser. I don't know if you mean Atlas browser or the actual Gemini browser that we just talked about earlier in the room, but I feel like Perplexity has a step ahead of the rest of them because they've been doing it for a while now. And they've just been like the underdogs and they've been just working, behind the scenes, but they've been doing it really, really well as well. Okay, you did say Gemini browser. I wanted to make sure. Yes. And you say your wife is in the beta version as well. Shout out to her because I hope she's enjoying it and I hope, she's seeing different things and testing different things out because it's fun to see these things. And, it's always a joy to see the results of what you get into. So definitely, yeah, I think Gemini might be, it might be better than the rest of them or not. I don't know. We're going to find out. This is something that is very subjective. Like I can't say, oh, this is the answer or that is the answer. But by the way things are going, it could definitely take that turn. And why I think Gemini could even be the better option is because, I mean, it's Google, and Google has been there, and Google is what people are using. Literally, you're importing content from Google to ChatGPT to Perplexity. So if you're looking at the source, why not just go to the source instead of becoming the resource? Just go to the source. And from there, you can get everything else that you need. So it just makes sense. If you're seeing ChatGPT release results from YouTube, and you know YouTube is owned by Google, it's a no-brainer. So I definitely would say Gemini would win for sure. But we all use it differently, like you said, Eric, and Google owns everything, unfortunately. But as we look at the market shares, look at where we're going in 2025, 2026, it's definitely a great place to be. And I think there's going to be a lot of information and connections as well that we can definitely, look into. Eric, I've given you a follow. You've given me some great insight today, and I appreciate you for being here in the room as well. And I see you, Magpie and Reliant, I hope I said it correctly. Thank you for being here. Feel free to click at the very top that says Marketing Club, and we have over 352.3K members in here. Feel free, you're welcome. This is a great space. I talk about information like this consistently. We have tons of replays here. If you want to get more exclusive with my information and how I disseminate information and give you demystified data, I can say it like that, demystified data, click the link above, sign up, and put your first name, best email. Let me know which of the options you would like to hear more of, and you'll be getting emails so that you can learn about how to use these platforms better. It's not just about hearing it, because from what I've learned, and I don't know much, but from what I've learned, the little that I've learned, I know that when you listen to something for the first time, that attributes to 5% acquisition of new information. But if you can teach what you've learned from someone else to someone else, that is a 90% retainer. In other words, you've been able to claim 90% of the knowledge base and apply it with your own experience and give it to somebody else to have a different perspective or the same perspective with the new found knowledge. So it's really up to you to decide how you want to do it. But I like to be visual. I like to show you better. I can tell you. So when you click the link and you sign up, you get emails, you get visual elements, you get videos, you get podcast episodes, you get listicles, you get graphs, you get polls. You get things that will really help you understand it, because I've talked about this now, and I'm sure you've probably not captured everything I've said. But if you saw this in a visual and you were able to actually have a full proof of concept, you're like, aha, okay, I can see where this leads to that. Because we like to see things to finish. No one wants to see something go halfway. You might as well not do it. It's just really up to you. So this is really a great time to try these platforms out, see what it's like, and then, make your decision from there. So it's really up to you to see where you want to go as a business and then take it to the next level. Even with business, ChatGPT has a personal and a business option. They have the business option for $25 a month, and you can see all the things that they give you. So it's really a lot of things to consider. But at the end of the day, I don't want you to be overloaded with information, because that's not my intention. My intention is to give you information so you can do your own research. And then you can now decide, is that what I want or not? And at the end of the day, the choice is yours, because you have 100% control of what you want to do or say, because that's really up to you. So I really thank you so much for this information and this feedback. This was really great. And I didn't want to, talk too much about this, but I wanted to make sure that I can describe and tell you what's going on. So Tolu, Eric, Amanta, Joy, Emma, The Real, C, and Reliant, thank you for being here. And I hope you guys learned something new. And also anyone that's listening to the replay, I hope you learned something new. Thank you, Emma, for the 100. Appreciate you for the thumbs up as well. Reliant, that tells me a lot, and it makes me know that, yes, I'm not wasting your time, because that's the last thing I want to do. So I'm happy that you listened, you understood, and now the ball's in your court. It's time to take action. Go download it, check it out for yourself. I'll be back here again for sure, and you can, click on my profile. And best way to do it is also, just connect with me. That way you're able to know when I'm available, when I'm here. And if you want to also see my rooms as well, thank you so much for that comment. I appreciate that, Emma. Really, really do. Emma said, I learn every time here. Thank you so much for that warm feedback. That always makes me, very, very aware, because I always say feedback is the best currency for any business. Feedback is the best currency for any business, because the more feedback you get, the more you're able to give back. You don't give what you don't have. So that's why I'm always here and making sure that this is done right and done in a very efficient way. So thank you so much for listening and enjoying the conversation. I'll be back again. I'll talk about more information like this, but just until then, download the app, check it out for yourself. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me and I'll be happy to take that information and, take it to the next level. But until then, enjoy your evening, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your week. And I'll be back again to give you more insights like this again. But until we meet again, God bless you. Have a wonderful day. And, stay ChatGPTing if you want to. But at the same time, make sure that you do this and do your own research. See you guys in the next episode. Now, that was an episode, right? Thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I'm so glad that you're here and you are sticking tight with us, especially to the very end. Now, this is season 11 and we're going to do it differently. And I want to make sure that every episode you listen to has something to give back so that you can also learn more after you listen. Now, We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So if you're in any of those positions out of those 4, please make sure that you reach out to me. Send out an email through info@playinc.online. That's info@playinc.online. Or you could go to playinc.online, which is a website, www.playinc.online, playinc.online, and schedule a call so that we can get you on an SEO discovery call to talk about your business and help you with your marketing needs. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you. See you in the next episode. God bless you. Jesus loves you.